Hello and welcome to the Anfield Wrap in association with RedsBet. RedsBet partnering the Anfield Wrap through 2018. 50% of their profits, i.e. your losses, go to fan-related causes, Liverpool supporter-related causes and ideas. So if you do gamble, do so with them. If you don't, absolutely fine. That's not what this is about. And no matter what your status is, be gamble aware. It is, though, the Anfield Wrap. It is Neil Atkinson, David Lynch, Paul Senior and Rob Gutmann with you to talk predominantly about Liverpool 3, Southampton 0. And David Lynch, my first thing about Liverpool 3, Southampton 0 is the extent to which that sort of result, regardless of performance, almost feels like the new normal.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it was more straightforward than a lot of games this season because they seem to have, despite Liverpool's good performances, have been a lot more tight than that.
Yep.
But yeah, it was as routine as it comes. Really, they didn't really get out of first gear, did they? And a team turns up at Anfield and. You remember even a couple of seasons ago, you'd be like, "Oh, this one looks like a tough one." You know, Southampton haven't picked up many results. Maybe they'll really dig in here, and Liverpool just battered them. Really, didn't they? It was straightforward.
It's the speed with which, Paul, you get the impression like Southampton have half took it. They've half took it when he picks his team, when he picks target, and when he picks Romeu. They've half took it, you know, maybe when he can't pick Ings. They sort of just take it when it goes 2-0. There's no. They actually, I think Southampton actually played quite well, and they have a couple of little flurries in the game. But there is just this sort of acceptance of we're turning up here to get beat. Let's hope it's just not that bad.
Yeah, and you know, I think you said on the video in the segment in the video that you were wondering what he was going to do with the Danny Ings counter, and I thought surely he just plays Austin. I mean, you come into Anfield. What have you got to lose? You know, it's a free hit. Really, no one's. I think in the preview shows for the game with the Anfield Wrap and other media bits, no one was expecting Southampton to do anything. So go and put a cat amongst the pigeons and play Charlie Austin or, you know, play Gabbiadini and have a go. And they didn't. They played Romeu. They didn't show up at all. I was quite disappointed in Southampton that it wasn't really a game. I actually thought we were in for a bit of a contest, to be honest with you, and they really didn't show up.
I think we can think it's a free hit, Rob, and I would often use that sort of language as a free hit. I think that the worry for these teams, and we haven't done it, and that's why it is interesting, but we haven't delivered the 6-0 against someone, not for a while now. But I think there's a big thing with the way in which they approach these matches. Like, they just don't want to be the side that the 6-0 happens to. That the idea that you could, if you're Mark Hughes, for instance, you remember Stoke going to Manchester City around this time last season, getting done 7-2, and maybe feeling like you never get your season back. I wonder if that's what we're dealing with here. The sides who are coming and they're just thinking, can we just limit the damage?
Yeah, and I think it happens a bit to sides like Brighton last season, who had a lively start and then get turned 5-0 on their own ground by us. And so I think there's something in it. I think the way they looked at it, I can see Paul's point of view about you have a go. Why not? What the hell? But then again, they've got a guy in their dressing room, although he doesn't play, Danny Ings, who they turn to and they go, "So Danny, what's the skinny on the Reds?" Right? And he goes, "Do you know what they don't like? They don't like to have to plough through a sea of players. They don't like you sitting deep, which good teams do. They all want you to come at them. That's the bottom line." And I think I'll take Neil's point as well about it not being a free hit, because they're hurt by that draw against Brighton in the week. If they got themselves up and running with that 3 points, I think then they go, yeah. But I think they thought, we've just got to find some way of getting something here. But it did make them too conservative. And also, you know, I don't know what it's a signifier of, but when you start with 2 soft goals, our first 2 goals are soft. They're a sign of a team really getting beyond their whatever.
I mean, go back to you, Rob. It's a clumsy own goal, a set-piece goal, and then a rebound from a set-piece goal, however good the set-piece was. It's still one where it just bounces off the crossbar and our lad gets there first. If you are Hughes, if you are Southampton, you're going, well, they haven't had to cut through us. And that's what's really, you know, they haven't had to move through the gears. They're just this much better than us. They haven't had to cut through us, and they haven't had to move through the gears. And to go in 3-0 down under those circumstances is just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, that destroys you, I think, and I think that's why we get the second half we get, which is damage limitation from their point of view, because they think once they cut through us, then God knows what can happen. The irony is we do cut through them quite nicely a few times, and we don't get those goals, do we? I mean, the one that sticks in the mind is the one where Salah's just about, he should have gone with his right and goes with his left, and there's a block on it. And there's the delicious one where he ends up back healing it after he's beautifully put away, is it by Firmino? So they could have been, they were lucky, I think, in a sense, not to have conceded those goals. But any neutral watching it back on Match of the Day, if I was a City fan, I'm going, oh, come off it. They don't need goals like that.
Paul, there's There's something in the winning while not playing well thing, but also winning 3-0 while not playing well, whilst also being able to list chances and say, we didn't play that well, but look at these chances. That is where, if you are a City fan and you do see the whole game, you are actually thinking, all right, these are serious, this is a proper team.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're not playing well. I've seen this put across a bit. I mean, I think not playing well is when you don't create chances and you look blunt. I think, Rob was talking about how you slow Liverpool down. You remember that Formula One car in London traffic quote, and Liverpool didn't really create anything in them games. I don't think that's when Liverpool are playing well, but we're not finishing well. Maybe that's correct, but we still scored 3 goals. It's enough. My thing on it is I thought Klopp was really interested in it. The way he shifted the front three around. He was really aware of Xherdan's height, so that he's just going to create a complete confusion there. And I mean, if you're Xherdan, you're getting beat by Joel Matip in the air, who, I mean, has had so many opportunities from set pieces, much easier than that, to pull that header off and beat you in the air. If you're Mark Hughes, you're walking away scratching your head how that's happened.
There's something in the idea of whether or not Liverpool did or didn't play well, David. There's a conversation about moments in that Liverpool, to me, what they look really good at the minute, better than last season, and maybe even not as good as last season in terms of putting full performances together, and maybe not even as good as we were at this stage in 16-17. But what we look better at than either of those years is having a great 30 seconds. Having a 30 seconds where all of a sudden Liverpool should score.
Yeah, and it's making the most of those, isn't it, I suppose, and they are just having those flashes. I suppose your only concern, and it's about as close as we can get to criticising Liverpool at any point in the season, really, is they're getting those opportunities on the counter where every time last season they used to make it look so simple. They would pick the right pass and it'd be like, oh, football is so straightforward when you do this. They just looked on a different level, and they're not making those same decisions at the moment now. But as you say, they're making enough, aren't they? And that's why you're getting a 3-0 performance and we're coming away going, no, it wasn't perfect, but which should be encouraging in the sense there's more to come. It's
a thing about Liverpool as well, where you could feel like you're in complete control of a game, but Liverpool are most dangerous when you've got the ball. It's that quick transition thing where I think sides are now becoming aware, or let them have it, a little bit more. And for us now to seem to be able to add set pieces into that mix as well. Liverpool are gaining little tactical advantages all over the pitch where, Liverpool play great football, but it is a lot of the stuff that you can look back in memory. If you look at West Ham away last season, where they just spring on West Ham and Creswell's on his own. Now we've still got all that, and we're also quite patient. We can do that, and we can grind the results out. But now we're scoring 3 goals from set pieces. This is something that we've said on shows in the past. If only we could take a corner, or if only we could do this. And
you got fullbacks. If you can't pick your way through a team, we can put in percentage crosses with such pace, like Beckham-like whip on them. So you've got that. You've got the set pieces. But the patience is the thing. I mean, I suppose we've cheaply dismissed all the goals Liverpool have scored, but I was watching it back. The first one is an incredible piece of skill by Mane and run by Shaqiri to open up a defence. Okay, it finally goes in off that lad's shin in the middle, but if he doesn't, Firmino gets a tap in, and it is one of the goals that David just described, one where football looks effortless. But the sort of adjustment of his feet and pass by Mane is unbelievable, and that to unpick a defence is something that's at a different level.
The key talking point from the game, David, to the big sub. It was a surprise when Shaqiri was taken off at half time. It was even more of a surprise when you discovered that there wasn't an injury question. What do you think's in the manager's mind?
I think it was as we've discussed it before, but it's really harsh on Shaqiri, given his performance in the first half. But you could see it wasn't that Southampton they didn't play particularly well, obviously, but there was quite a lot of times on both sides of the pitch that they seemed to be getting in behind to throw crosses in, and I think that was Klopp's main worry there, is that when you have that midfield 3 and a sort of solid 3 rather than a 2 and a 1, it's so much easier to split those and cover the full-back positions, because Salah and Mane, they do work hard, but they sort of cover half positions, don't they? They don't actually follow the full-back all the way. So that's what those midfielders do, and when they split, you've still got one in the middle if they split the play or whatever. When you've got 2, if one of your midfielders goes out, you've got one on his own, and I think that's why Southampton was sort of finding it a bit easier to pass in behind us on the flanks, and that was his main worry, and it spoke volumes to me that when Milner came on and they went to that sort of flat three, that didn't really happen anymore, and Southampton they didn't get any joy really in the second half.
It was clear it was happening. I just didn't think it was going to be for Shaqiri. You see Milner, as soon as the half-time whistle goes, he's straight out on the pitch, he's warming up. And I in my head I thought, 3-0 up, a couple of big games on the horizon, one of the front three is coming off because he'll just move Shaqiri into one of their positions. I think I spent most of half-time sort of working out which one of them it was going to be, and then when the side came back out and it was Shaqiri, I couldn't really get my head around why. You're sort of in a game cruise, and Southampton, I think they only get the first shot on target in the 90-something minute, Charlie Austin. So it didn't really make any sense to me, but something must have been clear in the game that the manager wasn't happy with.
I think that sub doesn't happen the way it happens if this Chelsea game isn't coming up, and I think that's in his mind. I think he would. I think Shaqiri hasn't played more than 15 minutes of football, has he, since the start of the season? That's the longest of his cameos,
Leicester.
maybe. Yeah. So none of his cameos have had any duration to them. You saw it with Sturridge in some of his early ones. I don't think you go from to ask 2 lots of 90 minutes from him just like that in the space of 4 days. I think that's slightly in his mind. I think his mind is against Chelsea. I want 80 minutes of him.
But also he's going to be key, isn't he? That's
he
the
is.
thing.
He's going to be our go-to man, our playmaker. He's going to be everything about that Chelsea game. Now, not that he intended to take Shaqiri off at half-time. I think he probably intended to give him 65. I think that's the truth of the matter. But I must admit, I was surprised he didn't. But I said, without the Chelsea game, I think Shaqiri doesn't. And also, there's another thing here, and David and I were talking about it before the show. If that Chelsea game isn't coming up, and say it's a full clear week and it's City next week and Shaqiri doesn't definitely play, then you've kicked that player in the pants. You've really destroyed him after a really good first half. And I don't think he can do it without putting his arm around him in that dressing room. I know this is mad. And he almost said it. I said it to him, I know this is mad, but you're definitely starting and playing best part of 90 on Wednesday. In that context, he can do it.
Well, he did say in his post-match press conference that he does intend to explain his substitutions to the players for obvious reasons because he's the gaffer, but in that occasion he did sort of say why he was doing it, and it was because obviously he'd have explained it in terms of formation rather than maybe going into detail about whether he was going to play against Chelsea, but he did feel like he had to offer an explanation because of the way Shaqiri had played.
I was even shocked it was Milner. I thought that would have been an opportunity for maybe Fabinho. I was just taking it in the context that we were 3-0 up and cruising at home, weren't under any sort of pressure. I think Southampton, if you'd have allowed them to, would have shook hands at half time and went home. So I thought, maybe if you're going to make that change, it's an opportunity to get 45 into Fabinho's. We don't even end up seeing them.
I think it's a sign of how seriously he's taking every minute of football this season, and I think people are going to be surprised how strong that team is on Wednesday night, by the way. Pulling Joe Gomez out, he effectively pulls 3 first-team players out. He keeps Keita out, he takes Milner out, and he takes Gomez out. So that's 3 fairly significant changes and keeps his front 3 there. I think
2 of your 3-star performers so far this season as well, really, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's the half thinking, well, I'm going to need Gomez to play against Chelsea. I think I want Fabinho and Keita to play against Chelsea, but I also want one of my other good midfielders. So he's putting out, you know what I mean? I think he's hinting at what's to come.
Are you also surprised or note, Rob, that he goes back to the front 3 in the original positions? So it's not Firmino left, it's not Firmino left, Mane right, and Salah through the middle. He goes Salah right. He moves literally all of them. He goes Salah right. Mane goes back left, and Firmino goes back central, which is where most of the business. That's the way we've tended to operate this season. You surprised about that? That he does that as well as takes Shaqiri off? Yeah.
Well, you're the one who we sat together at match. You pointed out he wasn't happy with Salah first half. So it was that side of it passed me by a bit, I suppose, looking at the match in the broader sense rather than that specific. But in the context of what you'd observed, he wasn't happy with what Salah was doing first half. Although me watching it back, not happy to see him score, but I thought he did so many good bits. You know, his movement was fantastic. He creates himself 2 half chances. I thought he looked back to the best of Mo Salah, but you saw things that he wasn't happy with.
Well, I saw him not being happy.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what.
Okay.
It's difficult for me to. I could see him spending a lot of the first half talking to / shouting at. I mean, you've got to shout. It's not. You can overstate that sort of thing sometimes. It's a football match, but he doesn't get to have a quiet word. But being quite, telling Salah where he wants him to be at different times.
It's interesting that he's central. You know, that could be a regular thing, but every time he sort of passes him on, you know, he could be in his ear. I don't know. I thought Salah. I know me and Rob were talking about this just before we came on the show. I thought Salah was fantastic. And like for him to take any form of criticism from that the other day, he felt to me back on it, and sort of any little doubts that had been creeping into my mind about Salah, and they were only minor, were sort of eased. Just because you could just see the level.
Another day he gets the match ball easily.
Absolutely.
And that's not, and I know that's said, but he was comfortable there, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
He looked like he was enjoying himself as well.
Yeah.
You watch the highlights back and he's smiling all the way through.
The goal seemed like such a real weight off his shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my head in my hands because it felt like he'd had the one where, I can't remember who it was, took the ball off him last minute when he's in front of goal. Then he had that outrageous back heel, which, you know, only the sort of top players can score them. But just have the presence of mind to be able to do what he does. If that goes in, it's a fantastic goal.
And another day he doesn't get the other one chalked off, and we're talking about really good numbers.
All them
again.
doubts you had about Mo Salah, he's just scored a hat-trick.
Yeah.
I'd also like to point out about the front three as well, that's sort of along similar lines, is the idea that I'm not sure about Firmino on that left-hand side. Now, he gets through more work than I think any of that front three. And yeah, I think Liverpool lose something when he's out there because his work is best done sitting in those gaps between the centre-halves where his running off the ball is better there. And I think that partly contributed to Southampton getting it down the flanks, particularly on his side, which seemed to be most productive for them. I mean, you saw it. He very rarely puts him out there, but one of them that really sticks in my mind was Goodison Park last season.
It was terrible.
And and it's just he just doesn't seem to be. I don't know. He's less willing to do the running on that side, or it's just less comfortable to him. But he never follows.
Maybe less of an awareness as to what he's actually meant to be doing.
Do you think it was something to do with Redmond? That was my thoughts about it in the game. Redmond's busy. He's the most direct sort of player Southampton have got, and I wondered whether he was a little bit worried about.
Isn't he left-sided?
Redmond played right first half, didn't he?
First half, yeah.
So it made me think whether he'd done that just to accommodate Redmond a little bit.
I think there's every chance he starts the way he starts, partially to send a message to, not necessarily to Manchester City, who are our next home opponents, but to all the ones that follow, Cardiff, Watford, I think are coming soon, or we're going there, to sort of say, don't think we're just always going to do this thing. We could just turn up and do this thing. So don't just, when your analysts are sitting there and you're working out and this is the best thing to do about Liverpool, I can just throw this in any time. And I think there could be a little element of that, just that idea of being able to say, don't you be resting on your laurels saying Liverpool to the same team every week or the same approach every week. From nowhere, we could just shift this shape. And I think it might be an element of them just sort of thinking, I just need to keep them honest, keep them thinking about what I'm going to do, rather than have them think as though, we'll just put our plan together to deal with Liverpool.
And we now know from that Man City documentary that Guardiola, even before they faced Cardiff for the weekend, was talking about Liverpool's front three in his dressing room to his coaches. Klopp knew that too.
It's nice to know that others are nervous about you, isn't it? But I think the main thing is that it's not a 3, it's a 4 as well. And
yes.
I wonder whether the team is the team against the teams that you think might be the whipping boys, but actually the ones that really might spring some surprises is the Man City things for what you've just been saying.
I want you mentioned it there. You're surprised it was Milner, Paul. When Wijnaldum comes off, first and foremost, I very much thought the ovation he got was terrific in that it wasn't as though he'd had some sort of remarkable 9 out of 10 day, but it was as though the crowd stood as one to say, you've been great for 7 games here. And I thought that was at times we can criticise our own supporters and all of that sort of stuff. For me, that was a real example of the idea of the most intelligent supporters in the land and all that sort of stuff. It was that idea that as one, the crowd got up and went, well done to you. But the second thing that occurred to me when I was looking back on it is that Keita wasn't returned to the line-up from the start or at half-time from not playing in the Paris Saint-Germain game. And there's a thing here, which is that the White Knights that were signed to save Liverpool's midfield, they just pretty much now, you can almost say they haven't really featured, and we're 7 wins out of 7.
Yeah, that's what a lovely thing that is. I mean, firstly, 7 out of 7 of which Gini Wijnaldum has been integral to them wins. And I think, you do the thing in your head all summer long when Liverpool are signing Fabinho, and you've got Naby Keita coming in, and you build your little dream team around. I don't think Wijnaldum would have featured in 99% of Liverpool fans' first 7 games. He was the one where he thought if they're going to move anyone on, is he the one who is overlooked most? And for him,
that rumour was going round in the summer.
Yeah. Well, for him to be integral. But it also shows to me as well, you know, you hear managers talk about creating competition within the side, and you don't really understand you don't get the measure of that, you know. And Wijnaldum's certainly up to it's you know, there's games where he has gone missing. I think even this season, maybe it's his second half at Leicester, I think he's a bit of a passenger, but he's got the away goal now. He's breaking. I know he got one at Roma, but he's got that. But his all-round play has been absolutely fantastic. I don't quite understand why, as fans, we get so excited about what's to come when you're signing the likes of Fabinho, who I don't think is that well known amongst Liverpool fans, and all of a sudden he's replacing a lad who's been integral to us getting a Champions League run and that. But it's just shown these lads have got it, but they fully understand what the manager wants, and that's key for me.
But you've hinted at it there, the competition's key. That form doesn't happen without those signings, I don't
think so.
And also there's this idea that, because he has these luxury of riches, that he wants to bed them. And we're seeing it softly with Fabinho. And we're seeing with Keita, I mean, I think Keita's still going to prove to be his main man. I mean, tellingly, although he leaves him out at Leicester, he's his first pick at Tottenham, biggest game of the season, Keita. I wouldn't put my life on it, but I think he'll edge it in for City as well. I think he's pulled Keita out of the last two. That's because I think he probably wants to give him 3 games on the bounce, and he needs to ease him in. We'll see.
Well, but it is this. The grass is always greener, David. And it is part of being a football supporter. We've all done it. The grass is always greener, but also at times what you yourself can perceive as being a weakness, it just may not be as great a weakness as perhaps you thought. It's ever so slightly the spectre of City, the idea of the 100 points and all of that I think partially creates that. But these lads, the thing you can say is they've had a competition, they've added strength and depth. They're going to continue to add competition and strength and depth. It wouldn't surprise me if one or both of the players who haven't played that much end up getting, let's say, 9 of the last 11 in a hopefully successful Liverpool season. But it's still, it's still worthy of comments that James Milner and Gini Wijnaldum in particular have just gone, yeah, you think you're taking my place cheaply? Absolutely not.
It's worked out perfectly, really, in many ways, because you don't want to see those players who you've got into this position sort of just thrown on the scrap heap, and then Fabinho and Keita start the season in midfield and Wijnaldum's waiting for his game, and then when he gets it he maybe doesn't play as well, and people are like, well, look, we were right about this. And it's notable that, say, when you praise Jordan Henderson on social media, you might get a little bit of pushback on that, and but it's so nice to see. One of the comments I got consistently off the back of saying about Henderson's deal was, one person in particular continuously tweeted me saying that, well, if Jurgen thought he was so good, then he wouldn't have signed this elite Brazilian DM. And yeah, Fabinho probably is that, and like you say, I can imagine by the end of the season that he will play the last chunk of games, because he probably will have proven that he's worth this hype. Jurgen Klopp doesn't sign bad players, but it's been so nice to see the midfielders who've got Liverpool in this position contribute so much, and they've got a vital part to play, injuries or not. Liverpool are going to have a lot of games this season. It's really good to see the likes of Wijnaldum and Milner stepping up. It's really important.
The criticism of Henderson I still find quite weird, considering the level of his performance recently. I mean, there was a moment in the game where he plays a beautiful lofted pass over the centre halves, it puts Liverpool in behind. The ball eventually gets cleared, and then it's Henderson that's harrowing the man, winning the ball back for Liverpool and getting us on the front foot again. And I don't quite understand where this is all born from, really. It's almost like people are willing for him to succeed in certain quarters. I mean, Liverpool is 7 out of 7 now. Pack it in. He is performing for Liverpool. He might not be your favourite player, and that's fine. He might do things that you don't understand, and that's fine. But I understand from his early performances for Liverpool a long time ago. You're talking in Kenny Dalglish's time now, that you might not have really rated Jordan Henderson.
He was 19.
He was 19, but now he's the captain of the football club, and for me, he's doing a great job doing that. But also on the pitch, he's been outstanding for a long time.
In many senses, I thought the two outstanding performers, Rob, they cumulatively for Liverpool don't get 90 minutes. Shaqiri first half, and then I think it would be the easiest thing in the world to sort of downplay what Joe Gomez does when he comes on. It would be easy to just to sort of say, well, the game was won and he just came in. But I actually think Southampton see Van Dijk go off and think, aye, and they actually have 5 minutes where they up it and they look to get in a couple of times. And I just thought he just came, to come on cold. He's not expecting to come on even when he's warming up. I mean, if you're an attacking player or a midfielder, you think, yeah, I'll get my chance. Let's be honest about this. Centre halves don't get subbed. So he's warming up and he won't be thinking I'm getting on if we're all in his heart of hearts. He comes on cold. He's playing the other side. He's simultaneously the senior member of that back four now, but also he's the junior member because he is the youngest next to Matip. And there's not a single issue. He strolls through the game and he just dominates.
Yeah, it's not the worst game to come back into, but you can't take anything away from his progress this season. But he's also another case in point with the Wijnaldum Milner factor. He's a lad who sat down, looked himself in the mirror pre-season and went, well, Trent Alexander-Arnold is the great hope of British football on the right-hand side, and he's in my place, well, the place I had. And I've got Van Dijk, a world record player, and Lovren, the self-styled best centre-half in the world, in front of me. If I get a sniff pre-season, I'm coming in and I'm playing well. There's just no way Joe Gomez is allowing himself second-tier performances anymore. I just don't. I mean, of course, he's going to have a rick in him somewhere along the line. But I tell you what, I think it'll happen in the middle of a really good game.
There was an interesting collective Van Dijk panic, Paul. I think it was the realisation that everybody in the ground realised that he's probably the most important player to remain fit for Liverpool. That you can
ever
given the fact that there's three of the front three, you can make an argument that if one of them went down, yes, it would be bad, but it wouldn't be.
Still two of them,
but there's still two of them. It was it reminded me a little bit of the hush when I think Henderson went down before the Roma game last season in a league match in between, and suddenly everyone went, oh, I hope he's not out. But that was it for Van Dijk there. Everyone just sort of went, oh God, we're playing City in a bit, and we've got Chelsea next week.
Yeah, I was nearly crying, if I'm honest.
Everyone knew that fixture list.
Yeah, I think everyone was acutely aware, even if it was just a broken rib, which is a couple of weeks, this isn't a couple of weeks for it, I mean, the performance of Joe Gomez does give you a bit of hope that you've got something of a real quality in centre half now. But yeah, the Van Dijk's importance to this Liverpool team I don't think it can be measured. The thing for me is you sell £145 million worth of football to Barcelona and improve by signing Virgil van Dijk. That's how good he is. There's not really much you can say about Virgil van Dijk that's not so obvious. He's like, I was talking to the sort of older guys around me at the game, and he's like Lawrenson. He's like a magnet. He's handsome. He's got bits of Hansen about him, but there's just his ability to be in the right place at the right time, and everything just seems to hit him. That's skill. That's not by chance. He's not just there just by any form of luck. But he is so important to this Liverpool side. It really can't be measured, and I still think he is our most important player.
Is it? Just reassure me that injury is just bruising, isn't it?
Just
I saw
bruising on a pain.
Any update?
He said that he'd had it prior to the PSG game, and he didn't think it was going to be anything serious.
I think he's got a whack in something already existing, But I think he misses midweek.
But I think he obviously misses midweek, David. But he probably would have missed midweek anyway. But I wonder about this, whether or not what you might see now is that he may not do Napoli away. He might do Napoli away. You get the impression the player would want to do Napoli away. But then if you push this forward and we get at the other side of that City game and then that next block, I do wonder if you might see a little bit more cotton wool towards two or three of them. That might be the point at which, if the manager's able to say to Van Dijk, don't worry about Red Star. If we get to the next round of the EFL, you're not going to be playing that. There might even be a League One that from nowhere, Cardiff at home, for instance, Liverpool might make the decision, we don't think we'll need you today. It gives us an opportunity to get minutes into Lovren or Matip alongside Gomez. You do begin to wonder whether or not little things like this might lead to Van Dijk being rotated a tiny little bit more than he might have expected himself.
Yeah, well, I think winning these first 7 games of the season sort of gives you options going forward to do things like that. Like you say, some of the Champions League games you can maybe look at and go, well, we can get away with. And it's not just get away with. I mean, you've got quality back up there. Lovren's going to be back soon, and he's a very good centre half, and he's him and Gomez would be a very good partnership. I do think going forward you're going to have to see that rotation because you don't want to take any risks with him.
When Gomez wasn't picked, Rob, you said it was something that you'd been thinking he may well do, and you made the point that Gomez has got an injury history himself.
Yeah.
Also, he's a younger lad, let's be honest about this, and people develop at different times. We are going to, it showed you across the board, Gomez being available to come on, combined with the Van Dijk injury, it showed you the importance of the rotation right the way across the pitch, which is going to be on the cards soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone's eyes in the rotation are on the front three. I think that's what but we forget there are issues all over the pitch. There's an issue over Trent Alexander and Andy Robertson, which no one really wants to talk about.
I thought they both looked tired against Southampton, to be honest. They both looked a little bit like they've done some running.
Yeah, and people go, oh, you missed the League Cup game, but okay, but then they've then got to play another 3 in a week. It's not straightforward. You know, we might need to see Albi Moreno do a shift for us. And it was right. I think Klopp was absolutely right to bring Joel Matip in there. And I think Matip rewarded him, actually. I think he gets a goal, but there was a lovely surge forward, wasn't there, in the first half? I thought, again, I can't keep saying this enough. I think there are players who are responding to the competition very, very positively. I mean, it just shows the mood in the camp.
And you'd imagine Joel Matip, you know, I'm well documented as not being a big fan. You'd imagine he's fourth choice centre half at Liverpool now.
Yeah.
And for him to come in and put a proper performance in like he does at the weekend, he gets a goal, and I think he was all right. I thought first 5 minutes, I thought he looked a bit shaky, and there was a few issues where I went, oh God, what are we in for this afternoon here? We look like we're missing Gomez already. But no, he grew into the game. I think Van Dijk sort of helped him through the game, and he clicked. And for us to be able to have Lovren not quite ready yet, go down to Mata, make that change, and there's an international footballer waiting to come in. That's positive.
And that's our excuse me. I think he's our best, David, our best fourth choice centre half since Hippier in 2008-9. I had a little sit down and thought it through, and it's testament to the squad building that's gone on that's happened progressively. That's not happened sort of straight away. We aren't, we're still not that many years away from Stephen Colker being signed as an emergency loan signing for Liverpool in a transfer window.
It's under Klopp.
No, that's what I mean. It's under Klopp, and I think that tells the story of the way he's gone about this business of buying first choices in order to kick down the pecking order while still simultaneously keeping those lads deeper in the pecking order happy.
That's what you'd always say as a fan watching things, is that that's exactly how you would expect a squad to be built, is you sign someone as your first choice and then you just keep adding to that and, like you say, knocking people down, and that is exactly how it's worked. It's like you look at Joel Matip, it's the fourth choice centre half. He was starting the first game of the season in 16-17, yep. And now he is
possibly in 17-18.
Yeah, and now look, it is probably fourth choice once Lovren's fit, and that's what a position to be in, and that will encourage the rotation as much as anything. Is that Klopp will know he can't really justifiably keep these lads on the bench all the time because they are good enough to start games, and that by the end of the season hopefully will be paying dividends, that all your squad will be fit and the amount of quality that's there that you should be in with a shout of winning something.
You could argue under Klopp that we've only really bought Shaqiri, who hasn't been bought to come straight into an 11.
Klavan and Shaqiri.
Oh, Klavan, yeah, Klavan as well. Fair. But then it's this misconception that across Europe they're buying 25 stars that are all first 11 players. Paris Saint-Germain in the week brought on Choupo-Moting, who got relegated with Shaqiri. He's coming on for Neymar, Mbappe or Cavani. This is it. So our drop is a lad that outshone him at the club he was relegated at. So it just shows what strength we have. We do possess, I
think it shows Paris Saint-Germain a skint now that they've spent and they've FFP'd themselves into the ground buying £400 million worth of forwards. Because that was a really lopsided squad if you look at it now, that Paris Saint-Germain one.
Well, Liverpool had the stronger bench on the night by a mile, which you would not have expected, really.
And again, 12 months ago conversation.
Exactly.
There is something, Rob, in the other thing that you got from Matip, and I think he still has a little bit of a mixed performance. I think you get to see some of his strengths and some of his weaknesses, but they're the strengths and weaknesses of a player who's Champions League class, not the strengths and weaknesses of Kyriakos, for instance, as an example. I mean, that it's a different set of strengths and weaknesses. But the other thing as well is he's now been a Liverpool player since 16-17. He's had 3 full seasons and 3 full pre-seasons of working with Jurgen Klopp. So therefore, he doesn't come in and go, "What's all this about?" He comes in and he knows what the expectations are in terms of the way this side plays. He knows that Trent Alexander-Arnold's going to be at times 30, 35, 40 yards away from him, and he's not going, "You get back here." He knows this is how we play. Yeah,
it's true, actually. Yeah, the players we're now seeing are squad players. I mean, okay, Shaqiri aside, are bedded in, aren't they? Actually, they're still knocking down the door into the first team. But that's very, very true here. There is a core who've been there a while. I was actually thinking about the depth of the squad. We think, around us they'll say, well, Liverpool haven't had any serious injury problems. We were without Chamberlain, Lallana and Lovren since the start of the season. Haven't got a look in, and Chamberlain won't. Those are really strong players, though. I mean, to be able to just throw Chamberlain and Lallana into midweek against Chelsea, you go, actually, we've got a selection headache in the League Cup here. It's amazing, really, the squad depth.
You could argue from fourth down, you start every week for every other Premier League side, them 3. And we're without them. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, he he was so important for Liverpool last season, and I felt we sort of missed him, especially in Kiev.
And 13 months ago, Lallana's a first 11 player for us.
Absolutely, and just to be able to, he's not really been in anyone's thoughts. Chamberlain, I feel it almost feels quite mean on him that he feels a little bit forgotten because Liverpool are performing at such a level. But that's it, and this is the strength and depth thing. You know, when there hasn't been much chat about January. Normally you go, oh, we could do with this in January or that in January. I couldn't care less if the transfer window opens.
One draw for it to happen.
Yeah.
We are winning all the football matches.
But also, it's worth pointing out, and David and Rob does it there. You know, there's 3 missing at the minute, and have been long-term absentees. But it only. And this isn't just a Liverpool thing. This is the case for Manchester City. This is the case for Manchester United to a certain extent, although there's a strange quality thing with Man United where I actually don't think they've got as much top quality as some of these other sides, but they've actually got maybe a bit more depth. But it's the same for Chelsea, it's the same for Arsenal, that it'll only ever take, you know, we've currently got 3 out. If there's 3 more out, we will suddenly be looking at the bench and having that conversation, but then that's the nature of squads. You can't actually have 25 belters. You've got to make some decisions somewhere.
Yeah, and you are at times, you're reliant on getting lucky with injuries. Liverpool, you know, we all know that even though they've improved the squad massively over the summer, they need to get fortunate with injuries to have a chance of winning a trophy, because even with the way Shaqiri played at the weekend, you do not want any of that front three disappearing. And I think there's sort of a critical mass you reach in terms of quality on the pitch that makes Liverpool just irresistible.
You want them all for when you need them. And that can be, for instance, 90 minutes against Manchester City, or if need be, when we were chopping and changing and it's not quite clicked, 20 minutes against Cardiff at home. That's what you want, isn't it? The idea that you can just say, if we need them all on the pitch right now, we can get them all on the pitch.
Exactly, and you know that when you've got that critical mass has been reached, that you can basically go out against any side and think we're probably going to score at some point today, and you know, that's why they're particularly crucial, rather than. I think you could possibly get through with a centre-half injury crisis, or, you know, problems at full-back, considering the depth there, and that area of the pitch isn't quite as difficult to get it right. But if Liverpool lose anything in that front three, for anything long-term, I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle. So that's where you just cross your fingers and hope that you get the good fortune.
I think the other thing as well is when you look at the makeup of top squads, they normally have a couple of youngsters on the bench. You look at Man City, they've got the likes of Phil Foden, Diaz, United have got Pereira, McTominay, them lads. When you look at Liverpool's bench, you go, well, there's no youngsters on it. It's because ours have excelled so much. They're in the first team. Gomez and Trent are now part of that 11. So Liverpool look uber strong because they're not blooding kids on the bench. Whereas you look at Man City's bench and Foden's not a first sub, but they do have, you know, a Mahrez or a Bernardo Silva to come in.
All of it bodes very, very well indeed still for Liverpool. It's 7 wins out of 7. That is 7 wins out of 7. If you haven't subscribed to the Anfield Wrap yet, where we get to talk only about victories at the minute, God knows what we're going to do when there's a defeat. It's Tour Player. It's £5 a month. theanfieldwrap.com/subscribe for all of that. Elsewhere, Rob, United and Chelsea drop 2 points. Everybody else wins. Come on to Tottenham in a minute. But United and Chelsea, it's a big 2 points home against Wolves for United. I think it is maybe a marker for everyone else that Wolves they've now took points off the 2 Manchester clubs, 1 home, 1 away. Yes, they were fortunate. They rode the luck more accurately against Manchester City at home rather than were fortunate. But firstly, Wolves, home or away, is not going to be a gimme. We go there on the 22nd of December. It's not going to be a gimme for anyone. Let's just get that one in and get that sorted now. They've made that crystal clear. But if you are Manchester United, it was a game that you very much could have done with the 3 points in.
Yeah, I'm glad it's a while away for us. They might be a different Wolves by then. I doubt they're
shattered.
Yeah, well, we saw this with Huddersfield last season. I mean, Wolves probably have more depth and quality than Huddersfield, but Huddersfield, look, I remember our mate Steve Armstrong going to watch his United side, and he's come away going, they're one of the best side we've seen all season. And by the end, they didn't quite look that good. And I think that may prove true of Wolves. But, you know, these are big results from our point of view. I mean, City will be saying the same thing. I mean, I do that overview show on Tour Player. We look at the fixtures and we looked at this is a United banker. Chelsea, West Ham are abject when we looked at it 2 weeks ago. That's a banker. And Liverpool's games look hard. For us to net gain on these teams. Let me put it this way. I think about it this way. Our net gain on United there is it's quite substantial because that's a banker versus ours was a banker as well. I'm labouring the point here. It's big. I mean, we want everyone to drop points every weekend, but they can't because the league is very polarised at the moment.
I'm taking the most positives from where we've been. It's that we've been to Leicester away, a tough away. We've been to Crystal Palace away, tough away. We've been to Tottenham. Even if Tottenham do pull off the new stadium this season, we're not going to have to go there. That's none of our business. Also, obviously, Paris Saint-Germain have come to Anfield and won, and we've won. So it's now what these have got to come at. There's not really been the big tough away for a lot of these teams. And if they're dropping points against Wolves, then I sort of take, well, what are they going to do at Tottenham away? What are they going to do at Leicester and Palace and these really difficult aways? Because if Wolves come to Old Trafford and can get a point, then are they any of our business? I'm I'm not sure.
Everyone always tries to be cool about I don't look at the table until there's Christmas trees and decorations and all sorts. David, everyone always loves that sort of nonsense.
My wallpaper on my phone.
Yeah, well, there we are. Because to use the language of it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's not a 800-metre race. It's 2 laps of 400 metres. You've got to run as fast as you can all the way through. That's the way it works. That's the way in which it is. And hopefully you've still got enough for a sprint finish somehow. You're looking at that now, and you are able to say that Man United have entertained Tottenham at home, but they now find themselves 8 points behind us. 8 points after 6 games. And that's not to say that, therefore, that'll extrapolate and it'll be an unbelievable number of points come the end of the campaign. Just much more the idea of that's already 8 points when you've still got to go to Anfield. We've still got to go to Old Trafford, but you've still got to come to Anfield. 8 points is it's a hill to climb already.
It's almost like it seems ridiculous to say after so few games, but you cannot see that being closed up completely over the course of the season now, given the way the two sides are playing and the atmosphere that's around Manchester United in comparison to the atmosphere around Liverpool. Like, it was almost like this last season in terms of United built up a certain lead over Liverpool in the early stages of the season, and Liverpool never quite got that back, even though they did improve eventually and they were playing much better football by the end of the season than Manchester United. They never quite closed that, and I think that's getting to the point already. 8 points at this stage of the season that they might not close that. And I thought what Paul said is exactly about where Liverpool have been already is really encouraging. You looked at City's fixtures, for example, to start the season, and what was it, the 3 newly promoted sides and then the 3 newly promoted sides from last season to start the season.
Is that how they played?
My thinking was if Liverpool can stay close to Manchester City over that first run of fixtures, they'll be happy. And what it is Liverpool are actually ahead of them at the moment.
Well, we're now in a situation where they come to our place in 2 weeks, and if we win, we will be above them. No matter what happens against Chelsea, we can go to Chelsea and get beat. They can win. They can go a point above us. But if we win, we go above them. And I think that if you'd have offered that to Klopp before a ball was kicked, we beat them at home and we go above them. That would have been absolutely phenomenal. There's even a scenario which isn't difficult to imagine where we go to Chelsea, we get a point, and then if City come and beat us, it's actually only 3 points. We'll still have to go to their place, and it'll feel significant. But Paul, that was the importance of this game at the weekend. You get to see that, and at times the way we talk about Liverpool's matches and the way we're anticipating it, and it's Southampton at home after Paris Saint-Germain. But the context of that win, being able to look at the table now and then being able to look at what's happened to United and Chelsea, it really does just allow you to go, you get to see the value of those 3 points in that context more maybe than we all did on Friday.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I wasn't aware of David's point of what quite a simple start Man City have had. I just know that they keep winning pretty much. Obviously, they've had that draw in there.
Arsenal away, they've had the only hard one.
I mean, but then we can say, well, if you're playing a points game, we've had Tottenham away. Tottenham are better than Arsenal. There's that thing. Manchester United. I've had Tottenham at home and lost. We've had Tottenham away and won. These are just the little battles in my mind. I'm going, we're plus this on this game, and it's that doing maths thing again. But you have to do it early because Manchester City didn't drop many points last season. It was interesting to see even Carragher at the weekend saying this league will not be won by a points tally that was won in that was the target of my time. If you get 85, 86, that'll probably do it. You're going to have to get 90 points. And the only way to do that is by not dropping points to Tottenham. And then like last season, our record was reasonably poor. We're bettering them again, So it's We lose quite considerably at Tottenham away last season. This year we win. The Southampton we come and we just dispatch them. These are just routine things that will allow, which almost gives us free hits. So if Chelsea do come and take, draw with us at the league of the weekend, it's not the end of the world because of the job we've done getting to this point so far.
In fact, I think 2 draws definitely would see us top, at least goal difference notwithstanding, by the end of the City game.
We'd be level on points with them. If
So, yeah,
we
level.
draw the next 2, they've got a better goal difference than us. But we'd be level on points with them. And again, given the fixtures and given where we've been, that'd be pretty fantastic from that sort of point. And it would also, if we did that as well, Chelsea couldn't be any better than level on points with us. The other one, Tottenham not convincing, David. They'll feel as though it's a massive 3 points, and I think you saw that in Pochettino's reaction at the end of the game. It's a 3 points that again reminds you, the same way that maybe United in the last couple of weeks, you've been reminded that they're not, whilst you can have a conversation about quite where the quality is at times, we are up against a load of teams that have spent 3, 4, 5 years, with one exception in United's case, being able to hit decent points totals, being able to hit 76 minimum, do even better, being able to be bang in there, and there's a wisdom about them, isn't there? And they got through it against Brighton, even if they didn't deserve to.
Yeah, I felt a bit sorry for some of the criticism that Pochettino's faced recently, because he's quite clearly a very good manager, isn't he? And he's hamstrung by Tottenham's situation. I think that's clear. And Liverpool, on the evidence we've seen so far, have taken up another level because they've been able to invest in a different stratosphere to Tottenham now. But Tottenham is still going to be there and thereabouts, aren't they? They're a very good team, and I think, if you're, say, United and you've made a slow start, you're worrying now about the fact that Chelsea are present in that top 4 conversation, when you maybe would have said they might struggle under a new manager and they're new signings bedding in this season. If Tottenham really, if Tottenham stop struggling and they sort of go on a little run again and just get that top 4 points tally like they generally do, then, if you're another team pushing for that top 4 position like Manchester United, you're probably worried about them.
My only concern with Tottenham, I suppose, is that, Harry Kane didn't score an open play again. Obviously, he gets the penalty, doesn't score against us. Is that Lamella's 2-2 now? My thing with Tottenham was just, if Kane's not scoring, who does? And I just don't want them to get that little bit of, this is them at the worst, and they're sort of getting away with it. Don't get me wrong, they lose to us, but they get away with it by just finding a way, and it's because the likes of Lamella are turning up and finding goals. And I was hoping that it was going to be Harry Kane centric again, and if I just don't want them to have someone else that they didn't really have last season. I know he comes back towards the end of the season. I don't want them to have something else to hang their hat on. Like Lamella's going to go and get that 10 for them, as well as Son maintaining his numbers and Kane.
And Maura scoring.
Yeah, of course. And he's the other one.
Do you think Tottenham is something for Liverpool to worry about this season, really?
I think you should always be worried. It depends. Look, we were writing the history of this season very early, and come back in a month's time. I think wise to not count Tottenham off. They'll be around the 80-point mark.
My thing about Tottenham and about these sides, David, is your positive thing earlier is what happens if you lose one of that front 3 for 3 months. There's the speed with which any season can become one where you think you're going to be challenging for first and saying, well, our worst case scenario is second. It may only take a sticky 4 league game run where suddenly you're going, forget them, let's look over our shoulder and check these out. So I think I wouldn't, and Tottenham are able to look at it right now and say, for all the question mark around the start in the first European game, they've got a 2 points a game. They played 6, got 12 points on the board.
They're doing fine.
And that's that, it's that where we look like we could go at the minute, but I also think you know how Tottenham are going to play. They're not reinventing themselves. They're a group that have been consistently together. As Paul said, they've added. Well, they feel like Lamella's like the proverbial new signing. Maura is a new signing. Chelsea are the interesting one, where you could still see it going either way. I think. I'd back Tottenham over Chelsea just. Sarri said at the weekend, he said, we're a work in progress. He actually said, I don't think he was playing mind games. He said, well, I think we're a year behind Liverpool. Chelsea, they've opened up with these wins, but they've not convinced anyone. And when you see them not winning like West Ham, they weren't very good, were they, against West Ham? It's hard to see where they go. Now, again, none of us will be surprised because the quality that's still there, if they go on to be competing this title to the last 2 weeks or whatever. But equally, I don't think anyone's surprised if Chelsea fall away. Okay, we have Chelsea this week. The front 3 get the duration. David, as we said before, pick me a team for Chelsea. With these lads, come on, the 3 of you. The first one, are you playing Mignolet?
No.
No.
I don't see why. Why would you?
No.
I also think it's a good opportunity for Alisson to play potentially with a changed back four, to get to know Nathaniel Klein, to get to know Alberto Moreno. Would you both agree they would play? I would
to see some action maybe as well, because he's not seen much action.
Well, there could be that as well. I mean, I would expect a fully changed back four, but not the goalkeeper. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm seeing...
You're not seeing Matip keep his place?
Sorry, yes. From what you would say our regular five.
So you think it'll be... but do you think he's going to start Mignolet or Alisson, David? You had sceptical face.
Yeah, knowing what Jurgen Klopp is like, you can imagine him sort of wanting to throw Mignolet in for his game, and it is just the League Cup is the fourth priority this season, isn't it?
Okay,
but
okay,
I think he owes him nothing.
I think he owes him nothing. I think he can't kid Mignolet that he wants to do him a favour anymore. He was behind.
Does he own the idea that if Alisson pulls a hamstring, you've had a game and you're all right? Because that'd be my rationale. My rationale wouldn't be I owe him anything. It's the idea of if I'm absolutely giving him nothing and then I'm suddenly going, we need you here for 6 weeks.
I just think it feels so token. I mean, in the history of keepers, you don't need to keep your second keeper fresh in that sense, I don't think. I also think I think Klopp wants to win this and go through. And I think there were hints of that in his selection at the weekend, and I think he'll go strong. I made a call over the weekend on social media, and I don't think I'll be as far wrong as people say. I think Gomez and Matip will line up together. I don't think Nat Phillips will come in. I think that would be a move too many.
Where's Lovren? What was Lovren?
I don't know if he's bored.
He's just so short of match fitness. He's back in training now, but he's not. He wouldn't.
I think with a week's worth, 10 days worth of training, do you not think it's?
He'll have lost so much though over that time.
I think
that's his problem, because he hasn't been able to do any fitness work while he's been out. I just think they'll be cautious.
I don't think Van Dijk. So if he's going to do one, he might do Matip and Gomez.
I think they play.
But I would put my house on Moreno and Klein starting.
Okay.
Yeah.
In midfield, I think the no-brainers are, because he's rested them and one hasn't played, Fabinho and Keita, which already look strong. I think in his mind he was going to play one of this three's established three, and it wasn't going to be Henderson. And I think in dropping Milner initially, I think Milner was in his mind to play this one. It's Milner, Keita, and Fabinho, and I think he might still. Although some people would say maybe he either goes, I'm going strong, I'm going to beat Chelsea, or if he goes, no, I'm going to League Cup this a bit, it's Curtis Jones. But I'm not going to be surprised if Milner makes the cut there.
I don't think he wants to lose momentum. I think Milner starts, and I would go ahead of that. I would say Sturridge and Shaqiri plus one of the three, and I think Agreed. It might be Mane.
I think it might be Firmino, because he's played that little bit less football.
Yeah, he had that time off, didn't he? I suppose with the eye injury. So
you think do you think it'll be one of the three as well?
Yeah,
I just don't see a scenario with Sturridge and
Solanke
I just don't see Sturridge and Firmino together unless he's going to play Firmino wide. The other one I had in my mind is that he could have played Keita or left of the three and brought Curtis Jones into midfield. Possible.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Curtis Jones gets a start, though I'd really like him to. But it just feels
he hasn't
like
been in
that
the 18, has he? Yeah. Either. He hasn't had a sniff so far. So
okay,
I think we'll be stronger than I expected when the tie was drawn.
Okay, I feel as though everyone got to the answer on that one. Broadly speaking, what I had as well, definitely that midfield three. I'd be really surprised if it isn't that midfield three of Fabinho, Keita and Milner. And then, in attack, I think obviously Sturridge and Shaqiri. I do wonder, where's Divock Origi's fitness, David? I know you're close to this than I am.
Jurgen said in his press conference that he's still feeling a little bit something in his ankle. And I mean, I'm not really sure that he'll be involved in terms of starting.
Still got Markovic knocking about now.
Well, we've got Solanke as well, but I think Solanke's also had an injury recently.
Yeah,
so.
I think he played in that under-23s game as well, and he said concussion, so he must have just got a knock there. So I don't think either of them will maybe come in to start. I'll be quite surprised.
Okay, excellent stuff. Then quick, who was your man of the match against Southampton, Rob?
Shaqiri for the first 45. I'm going to give it to Shaqiri.
David?
Well, Shaqiri got the sponsors man of the match. I saw him get taken through to receive that at the end of the game, so I'll go with them.
Okay.
It's tough, isn't it? I actually don't know. I thought the fullbacks were good. I couldn't hang my hat on anyone really.
Not hanging any hats there, Paul Senior. Just bear that in mind if you've got some hats or a hat stand going. Thank you very much, David, Paul and Rob. It's been the Anfield Wrap this week in association with RedsBet. Take it easy. The Reds against Chelsea. I love it when the games come thick and fast. It makes the job easier.